Welcome back. Well, the National Park Service has reopened the Cave of the Domes inside the Grand Canyon.
The Grand Canyon is one of the most studied places in the world, but there's a section within it that's strictly off-limits to the public. This area isn't visible on any public map and is completely closed by federal order. Rangers call it the Forbidden Zone. Odds have been observed here over the years. Equipment suddenly malfunctioning, drones disappearing, and unusual lights appearing within the cliffs. Park officials consider this area extremely unstable. The last official descent resulted in a major accident. A falling boulder severely injured a climber, ripping his harness, and a rescue effort lasted hours. Broken gear from previous expeditions still lies at the site. According to national park records, this area is both a geological hazard and a cultural protection zone. The Hopi and Havasupai tribes consider it sacred. In their stories, this place is called the place of emergence, the place where their ancestors emerged from the earth. Tribal elders say it's not right to disturb this area, as they believe it's a boundary point that shouldn't be tampered with. Despite these warnings and risks, a team recently received rare permission to enter the restricted zone, and what they saw inside, symbols, structures, and traces, don't match any known civilization. Now the question is, what is hidden in this closed part of the Grand Canyon that has been kept hidden for decades? The full story is about to unfold, so watch the full video. And yes, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. As large and famous as the Grand Canyon is, it's strange that some areas of it have always appeared blank on official maps. National parks typically show every trail, every cliff, and every river bend in detail, but this one zone appears as a blank white box. Park brochures don't mention it. There's no signboard and no clear image of it on satellite maps. When people questioned this missing area, the answers were always indirect: geological risk, restricted for safety, or environmental protection. But these statements only paint a half picture, as this same area was later declared a classified protected zone by federal order. A restricted zone doesn't simply mean a dangerous area. It means there's something inside that the government wants to completely control. What's most surprising is that this area wasn't suddenly closed. Old maps showed this area normally, but in later updated versions, the entire region was blurred, darkened, or completely redacted. When some researchers requested documents under the Freedom of Information Act, many pages were returned heavily blacked out. This further fueled curiosity about why a section of the park was so sensitive. Local rumors and accounts from retired rangers make it clear that this decision wasn't made solely for public safety. Some say archaeologists discovered unusual structures, which were later closed for security reasons. Others claim the government found artifacts here that could shift America's ancient history in a different direction. Nothing has been officially revealed, but secrecy speaks volumes. The most interesting information about the Forbidden Zone comes not from government documents, but from the reports of park rangers. Rangers monitor the canyon daily, and their field logs contain numerous entries that have no straightforward scientific explanation. The most common issue is electronic equipment failure. Radios go out immediately upon entering, GPS signals disappear, and metal detectors beep in strange ways. Rangers sent their drones into this area several times, but the results were shocking. Some drones lost connection after a few seconds and never returned. Even if they did, their cameras were completely black, as if the recording had been overwritten or had burned out internally. Aerial footage shows a dead signal bubble over this zone, as if an invisible field was disturbing the electronics. Reports of lights are considered the most frightening. During night patrols, many rangers have seen strange blue and white glowing lights emanating from deep cracks within the cliffs. These lights don't resemble a lantern, torch, or campfire. They flicker, rotate, and then disappear briefly. Rangers call them moving orbs. Sometimes these lights are completely soundless, and sometimes it appears as if something is moving within the canyon's inner walls. Explanations have been tried: fireflies, rock reflections, mineral glow. But none of these theories are consistent. Drone cameras have never clearly captured these lights, but sensors sometimes record sudden, sharp spikes, as if an unknown energy source is active nearby. These reports have led rangers to remain vigilant in this area. Officially, these incidents are described as environmental anomalies. But off the record, many rangers say, there's something here that's invisible, but definitely present. The primary reason for officially closing the Forbidden Zone is the same incident that remains recorded in park files as the incident. Years ago, an expert climbing team was supposed to survey this section of rock. The weather was clear, the equipment was fully functional, and the team had all the necessary safety gear. It started out normal, but the dangerous part began when they reached the vertical rock face. The lead climber was the first to descend, but halfway up, he suddenly heard a loud crackling sound. No one could understand what the sound was. A few seconds later, a rock the size of a refrigerator fell directly on him from above. He immediately tried to brace himself against the wall, but the rock impact was so strong that he lost his balance and the webbing of his harness ripped from the side. The climber didn't fall, but he hit the wall so hard that he broke several ribs and suffered sharp cuts on his hands. The rescue team immediately relocked the ropes, but it took 3 hours to pull him up. During this time, even smaller rocks from above continued to fall, making the rescue completely life-threatening. When the climber was brought up, his helmet was dented and he was barely breathing. After the rescue was over, all the team's equipment lay crushed beneath the cliff. Radios were broken, cams and pitons were scattered, and many gears bore burn-like marks, as if heated and melted by friction. Authorities described the incident as an unpredictable geological failure, but many experts said it wasn't a typical rockfall, but rather something unusually triggered. Following this incident, federal authorities completely closed the zone and permanently banned future expeditions. The cliffs in the Forbidden Zone exhibit a completely different geological behavior from the rest of the Grand Canyon. According to scientists, the sandstone layers here are so thin and cracked that even a slight vibration could cause a massive collapse. This is why climbing experts consider this area one of North America's most unstable cliff structures. The natural bonding of the rock layers is weak, and constant temperature changes make them even more brittle. A distinctive feature of this region is the deep rumbling sounds heard from above. These sounds sometimes shake the entire cliff face, as if a cavity deep inside has collapsed. Park geologists say that hollow pockets exist beneath this region, weakened over time. If a human or drone causes even the slightest disturbance to these pockets, the entire area could suddenly collapse. The ground is no less dangerous. The soil below contains scattered boulder fields, making walking on them risky. Sometimes these large boulders slide and roll rapidly downhill without any warning. Rangers have written in their reports that these cliffs possess such silent instability that you won't even know when a section is about to break. The most dangerous thing is that scientists have detected micro-vibrations here, which are not found in normal rock structures. This vibration seems quite steady and pattern-based, as if some unknown source is applying constant pressure below. Some experts believe that this anomaly triggers rockfalls rapidly, and perhaps this is the reason why drone signals are also disturbed here. Due to all these geological risks, the authorities have given a clear order. No public entry, no expedition, no exceptions. This place has been kept closed not only because of the danger, but also because of its unpredictable nature. At any time, a small part of the cliffs can break and turn into a massive landslide, and there is no guarantee of rescue. The Grand Canyon is not just a natural wonder, but a sacred place for many indigenous tribes. The Hopi and Havasupai tribes call a specific part of this canyon the place of emergence. According to their belief, their ancestors emerged from the Earth's inner world to the surface through this very spot. This isn't just a story, it's part of their entire cultural identity. Therefore, this area is considered sacred, and disturbing it is considered wrong. Hopi elders explain that human civilization began not in an open field, but in a hidden realm within the depths of the canyon. According to them, in ancient times, humans received divine guidance to ascend to the upper world. But a strict instruction was also given: do not return. Returning meant crossing a boundary where humans should not go. This warning has been passed down through generations, that anyone who goes back there will risk unknown dangers. That's why, whenever the government or any team talks about entering this zone, many tribal elders openly oppose it. They say that this place poses not only physical danger, but also spiritual imbalance. For them, it's not just rocks and tunnels. It's a doorway to the ancestral world that must remain closed. The Havasupai tribe also holds this area with deep respect. They believe that this part of the canyon contains ancient markings and energy traces that are not found in any normal place. Elders often say, "The wind that blows here feels like the breath of the old world." Therefore, they advise outsiders to stay away from this zone. According to them, this area is protected not just for nature, but for tradition and balance. Another common theme in Hopi and Havasupai legends is the mention of an underworld entrance beneath the Grand Canyon. Their oral histories tell of several different realms beneath the ground, one of which is where mankind began. The elders describe it as three worlds: the netherworld, the middle world, and the upper world. It is said that the Forbidden Zone is the passage that connects these realms. According to tribal stories, this entrance is not a neat gate, but a natural opening hidden deep within the rocks. It is said that there are symbols and markings that indicate this passage is sacred. Modern archaeologists may consider it myths, but tribes insist that these symbols record real events. According to them, this place is not just a physical passage, it is a spiritual transition point. Some legends tell of strange experiences for anyone who ventured near this passage, such as a sudden change in wind flow, a sudden chill, or an unexplained echo. Elders say these are signs that the other world still exists and is connected to the surface world. Tribal rituals always mention this place in a serious tone, as it is considered unsuitable to take it lightly. What's most interesting is that these legends aren't held by just one tribe, but exist with slight variations across different tribes. This means that centuries ago, the belief that there was a doorway between worlds was widely accepted. Many elders believe that this is why strange lights, strange sounds, and unexplained energy signals are still seen in the Forbidden Zone, because the area isn't completely inactive. Tribal leaders clearly state, "Do not disturb this place under any circumstances." They believe that what the government and scientists are looking at with curiosity is stirring up forces that should remain untouched. Perhaps this is why, when scientists recently gained entry into the restricted zone, the tribes openly protested. Their fear wasn't that something would be lost. They feared that something sealed for centuries would be revealed. Gaining entry into the Forbidden Zone was no easy task. Over the past 30 years, countless requests had been made regarding this site, but each time the government responded with the same word: denied. Scientists, archaeologists, and explorers tried, but authorities consistently closed the route, citing safety, collapse risk, and cultural sensitivity. This area had practically become non-negotiable territory. But recently, a team took a radically different approach. They not only provided scientific justification, but also submitted a detailed 400-page research report on past incidents, tribal boundaries, and geological risks. In it, they explained that their mission was not merely exploration, but crucial to understanding the canyon's future stability. This argument forced authorities to think for the first time. The paperwork wasn't easy. Clearance required approval from federal agencies, park authorities, geological departments, and tribal councils. The biggest challenge was convincing Hopi and Havasupai elders who believed the area was spiritually sensitive. The team approached them with respect, listened to their legends, and provided proof that they would not touch any sacred structure. Debates continued for weeks. Scientists argued that it was important to understand the activity in the restricted area, while tribal elders insisted that the site should not be disturbed. A compromise was finally reached when the team promised that exploration would be limited to the outer zone, and that no carved markings or stone structures would be touched. This was the first time the tribes had given cautious permission. Following this agreement and internal pressure from the government, a special, limited-time clearance for the restricted zone was approved for the first time in 30 years. This moment was historic for the entire scientific community. After receiving permission, the real challenge began: the actual descent. There is no standard route to the Forbidden Zone, so the team was helicoptered onto a small, unstable rock shelf. The wind was so strong that the pilot had to repeat the approach 3 times. Finally, after finding the perfect angle, the team was dropped down using a rope harness. Immediately upon landing, they realized This place was completely different, like another world. The cliffs stood before them, vertically straight, cracked, and seemingly impending collapse. Upon reaching the ground, they were met with the first shock. Equipment from previous expeditions was still lying there. Broken helmets, rusted metal pieces, torn ropes, and some crushed containers still bearing faded government stickers. It became clear that previous attempts hadn't been as simple as reports had suggested. As the team progressed, the narrow pathways became increasingly dangerous. In places, the ground was so loose that a single step could result in a steep fall into a deep ravine. Old climbing hooks were visible at various points on the cliff walls, some of which were bent, as if a very strong force had pulled and twisted them. This was unsettling for the team, as such force is rare under natural conditions. The most interesting discovery came when they found ropes completely abandoned in one area. These ropes were so old that dust and mineral deposits had accumulated on them, but the cuts were strange, as if a sharp object had cut them at a specific angle. Weather or friction wouldn't have caused such cuts. Team members whispered to each other, "This isn't normal." The terrain looked so raw and untouched that it seemed as if no one had set foot here in decades. Barely a few minutes from the helipad, the air would suddenly turn cold, for no logical reason. When the team took out the thermometer, the readings were completely erratic. In some places the air was warm, in others it was extremely cold. This didn't seem natural because the temperature in the canyon doesn't change so rapidly. The team moved forward, and with each step they realized that this place was not only dangerous, but also strange. Every sound echoed off the canyon walls, but some echoes were noticeably delayed, as if the walls were hollow. This was the moment when experts realized that something very large, very old, and perhaps very unusual lay beneath. The team had advanced about half a kilometer when suddenly a section of the cliff wall in front of them appeared completely different from the rest of the rocks. The rest of the canyon walls appeared rough, cracked, and formed by natural erosion. But this section's surface was completely smooth, as if someone had deliberately polished it. The surface was cold to the touch, and the texture felt completely different from the rest of the rocks. The alignment of this smooth wall was also not natural. It was perfectly straight and vertical, as if it had been measured and cut with a ruler. Geological erosion never creates such a perfect line, and the scientists were shocked to see this. It seemed as if someone had carved a flat slab into the cliff centuries ago, and while erosion had destroyed the rest, this section remained strangely preserved. The most striking thing were the symbols on the wall. The symbols glowed faintly as soon as the torchlight shone on them. They didn't resemble any modern writing system, neither Latin letters, nor ancient tribal markings, nor petroglyphs. Their shapes were geometric, triangles, curved lines, intersecting patterns, looking like some unknown script. The team immediately noted that the symbols didn't appear weathered, as if erosion hadn't touched them. The repetition of some symbols puzzled the researchers. Such a pattern couldn't be formed by any natural crack, mineral deposition, or erosion. An archaeologist on the team whispered, "This isn't natural. Someone made this." And that was the moment that changed the direction of the entire expedition. This was no longer just a geological survey. It had become a potential archaeological discovery. While examining the area of the symbols, the team noticed a slight gap beneath the wall. Initially, they thought it was a normal rock fracture, but when they removed the dust, they discovered a perfectly carved horizontal line underneath. This wasn't a crack. It looked like the outline of a sealed entrance, straight, symmetrical, and uniformly cut. They slowly removed the surrounding dust and, after a while, revealed a recessed rock panel made of a different material from the rest of the cliff. The panel had darkened with age, but its edges were still clearly visible. It appeared as if someone had shaped it like a door and then fitted it into the cliff face. Age analysis revealed that the panel consisted solely of natural dust layers, meaning it hadn't been touched in many years. When they examined one edge of the panel, they found a shallow finger-width groove. This groove was completely artificial, as if someone had carved it into a grip or lever. Weathering indicated the groove was at least several centuries old, but its shape was surprisingly intact. The scientists gently pressed it with their tools, causing the dust and small pebbles underneath to dislodge. The panel loosened slightly, and as they applied more pressure, a faint hollow sound, a thok, came from beneath. This sound wasn't from canyon rock. It was an echo coming from an empty structure or chamber with a lot of space inside. It was clear that a hollow passage or tunnel existed behind the cliff. All the team members remained silent for a few seconds because they knew this was what they hadn't expected. Finally, they slid the panel slightly and peered inside. Behind the rock face, a narrow passage was visible, its walls oddly straight. Dust layers were patterned, as if the wind hadn't blown through this passage in centuries. The floor was also covered in fine dust, but distinctly unnatural, as if deposited on a man-made surface. This tunnel couldn't have been formed by natural erosion. It seemed completely carved. The team immediately realized they were standing in a part of the Grand Canyon where an ancient civilization had once built something that doesn't even exist on modern maps. This discovery wasn't just of archaeological importance. It could have been a turning point in rewriting human history. As soon as the team entered, they realized that this tunnel was unlike any other natural cave in the canyon. The passage was deep, and the air was completely still, as if there had been no movement in centuries. A torchlight shone on the walls, revealing that the walls hadn't naturally eroded, but had been smoothed and shaped by someone. Carved patterns stretched widely, repeating shapes like curves and straight lines. The ground beneath was covered in a thick layer of dust, indicating no one had been there for decades. But after removing the dust, they discovered old soot marks, dark spots created by ancient torches or an oil-based light source. This clearly indicated someone had lit a light here thousands of years ago. This finding itself was shocking, as there were no documented human settlements in this region. The tunnel gradually narrowed, but the strangest thing was the metallic smell inside. The canyon's natural caves typically smell of earth, minerals, and dry air, but this one had a distinctly metallic odor, like rust, iron, or an unknown alloy. One team member suggested the smell might have come from an ancient metallic tool or structure, but there was no concrete idea. The carvings on the walls weren't random either. In some areas, patterns were formed in a repeated sequence, like an ancient script or symbolic instruction system. Erosion on these carvings was surprisingly minimal, meaning they were either very deep or protected in some way. This made the team realize the tunnel wasn't just a natural formation. It was man-made and purposefully built. As the team progressed, they first spotted artifacts in a small chamber of the tunnel. The chamber wasn't large, but as the soil and dust cleared away in a corner of the walls, stone fragments were discovered. These weren't ordinary stones. They bore carvings unmatched anywhere else in the North American archaeological record. Curved motifs, triangle clusters, and some unfamiliar shapes appeared to represent the language of a lost system. At one site, a flat stone tablet was found, with parallel lines and circular impressions. The tablet's material wasn't ordinary sandstone. It was a denser, metallic touch stone. When the team lifted it, it weighed quite a lot, almost as much as iron ore. This was very unusual, as such stones don't naturally occur in this region. This led the team to believe that this artifact may have been brought from elsewhere. A few tools were also found with the artifacts, heavily rusted but clearly shaped. These included peg-like structures, chisel-like pointed ends, and designs that were completely different from modern tools. The edges of the tools had micro-cuts, as if someone had made them with industrial precision. This was quite confusing because documented Native American tribes never used such tools. The most surprising item was a bowl-shaped carved stone. Its inner surface was extremely smooth, and it had microscopic grooves, as if a machine had shaped it. The team's geologists stated that natural erosion could not produce such a finish. It was certainly artificial processing. This finding directly challenged North American history, as it indicated the existence of an advanced or unique ancient community here. While examining the artifacts, the team noticed another strange thing. Minor interference began to occur in their equipment. Initially, it was thought that the tunnel's depth was causing signal drops, but the sensors revealed something else. The devices detected a consistent, steady electromagnetic pulse, a frequency that does not match natural geological formations. EM interference is rare in normal caves, and even if it does occur, it appears as random spikes. But here, the pulse was stable and rhythmic, like a steady beat, as if a low-power transmitter was nearby. The team's electronics expert checked the readings and stated that this EM pattern did not appear natural. Canyon rocks do not have the mineral concentration that would generate steady pulses. As the team reached deeper zones, the intensity of the EM pulses increased slightly. This spike was so noticeable that their drone camera began to flicker. Some devices even auto-shut down, as if an invisible field was overloading their circuits. This phenomenon was difficult to explain scientifically, as magnetic anomalies are not common in this region, according to the Geological Survey. The EM reading raised another question. Is there an ancient energy source, metallic chamber, or an unknown alloy structure hidden inside the tunnel? If so, this discovery could become the biggest twist in North American archaeology. The team's archaeologists said softly, "These aren't just artifacts. They could be part of an ancient system." As soon as the mission ended, the situation suddenly changed. As soon as the team emerged, federal authorities immediately sealed off the entire forbidden zone. The helicopter had barely lifted off when new barricades and warning boards were erected overhead. Officials issued a clear order. There will be no further entry into this area under any circumstances. This reaction was so swift that even the team members themselves were surprised. Following this, the media began asking questions about the expedition, but the answers were quite confusing. Some government spokespeople stated that the expedition was a routine geological survey and nothing special was found inside. They also stated that the team only studied rocks and old debris, and the results were completely normal. Hearing this statement, many people thought that perhaps the mission was merely a precautionary measure. On the other hand, some scientists on the team gave a different version off record. They said that what they found inside was anything but normal: symbols, carvings, artifacts, and electromagnetic anomalies, which were shocking even to them. When asked why the government wasn't revealing these details, one researcher simply said, "Maybe the world isn't ready yet." This line spread like wildfire on social media. The biggest question remained, if nothing was found inside, why was the government relocking the zone so quickly? And if something significant was found, why was it being hidden? Researchers were divided. Some remained silent, some offered hints, but no one revealed the full truth. This further increased the suspicion that the government was concealing something significant about this place.